Hello, Items High School staff. It's great to connect with you guys. Wanted to send you guys a quick video to talk about the PSAT for 10th and 11th graders and the PSAT for 9th graders as well. We appreciate all of you guys and all your efforts to make this a successful test. This is another one of those, unfortunately, we're saying this a lot during the pandemic, but all hands on deck situation. We need everybody pitching in to make this a successful day and make sure we're doing it as quickly and as safely as possible for our kids. I'm gonna turn it over to Christy and Sarah here. We're gonna run you guys through a couple little changes and announcements, and then we'll get you guys on your way, and let us know and email us or talk to us if you have any questions.
Hi all, just to give you an overview of the PSAT, especially for the NMSQT, we're going to have 10th and 11th graders both taking that same test. You are going to be doing a pre-administration session again, as you did with the SAT. It should take around 30 to 40 minutes, but times always vary. Some people are quicker, some people are a little bit longer to read. The breakdown of the test is there's a 60-minute reading test, then a 5-minute break, a 35-minute writing language, then a math test with no calculator for 25 minutes, another 5-minute break, a math test with a calculator for 45, and then the test is over. So the total time is approximately 3.5 hours. There is no essay portion for this test.
And for the 9th grade, the PSAT 9, it's actually very similar. You will be doing a pre-administration session as well. It should only take about 30 minutes. And then the tests are very similar. There's a 55-minute reading test with a 5-minute break, a 30-minute writing and language test, a math with no calculator for 20, another 5-minute break, a math test, and then the test ends. The total time with breaks is about 2 hours and 35 minutes. So if you figure in with the pre-administration, the reading of the directions, distributing and collecting materials, probably about 3 hours and 15 minutes from start to finish. So keep that in mind. Your kids in the freshman rooms will have some extra time before they're allowed to be released from the room. So if you want to read your directions really slow, feel free.
So before the test, we're going to have you pick up the test materials in the senior area for all tests. So for the PSAT, NMSQT, and the PSAT 9, you can report to the senior area between 6:45 and 7:10 a.m. We'll have you count the materials really quick, and then you'll proceed to your testing room to check the setup and make sure everything's good. Do a quick review of the room roster, the answer documents, the forms, make sure you're writing all the stuff on the board ahead of time that we ask you to do, and then turn your cell phone to silent. Keep in mind that we will be getting proctor assignments to you at some point. Hopefully we're looking at around Wednesday, and then we will be putting your materials that are needed for proctor in your mailboxes. So please make sure to check those before Thursday, so that you can read through all of the information that you'll need on test day. Again, just a quick reminder, it is different. We're not dropping off materials. We need you to pick them up in the senior area at 6:45. I don't think it was said before, but we are testing just the Gen Ed students. Is 36 rooms. So we are going to be spread out all over the building. For room prep, please keep your door ready until you are, or closed until you're ready to check in the students. Spot check the desks. We are going to go around and put the numbered labels on the desk the night before that will say the desk number, and we'll also have the student's name and UIC code on there that's going to be needed for the pre-bubbling. And then make sure you're writing the following information on the board. We will include it in the testing bin, but it's pretty much the same as what we asked you to do for the SAT as well.
So when your students do arrive and you're ready, obviously you're going to open up your door and then you're going to check them in at the door. If you don't know them, ask them for an ID, and if they don't have one, grab a counselor, an administrator, or potentially hall monitors to kind of help with that. And then on the room roster, mark if they're present, mark a P, and if they're absent, mark an A. As Sarah said, there will be labels on the desks, and those will be numbered with their name and that UIC number that they'll need for their student ID for the pre-grade. During testing, of course, electronic devices are prohibited. If your students bring cell phones with them, obviously they don't have lockers, have them power them down, leave them in the front of the room. They cannot use a mechanical pencil. That's standardized testing. We will have some pencils in the bins for them to borrow. Hopefully we'll have enough. We don't want them back, so if they borrow a pencil, let them keep them. We will not have calculators for them to borrow, so hopefully they bring one. If they do not, they'll just test without a calculator. Approved calculators can be found on page 117 in the PSAT 1011 manual and on page 111 for the PSAT 9. So if your students arrive, as I said, direct them to the numbered seat that corresponds with the name on the roster. And then that UIC piece is going to be here. That's going to be that important piece that they'll need for field 14 for their age documents for the PSAT and MSQT, and field 5 for the PSAT 9. If your students bring any snacks or beverages, they can have them in the classroom. They should just place them underneath of the desk or in the front or the back of the room. We are not holding rooms. We did ask kids to respond whether or not they are coming. So at this point, we feel like we'll have decent room rosters, but we do know that some kids may not show up even though they responded that they were. We're not holding the rooms. Go ahead and close your door at 7:30 and begin reading your instructions. If a kid does arrive late and you've not yet begun the time sections, we will go ahead and help them come into your room still.
So during the testing period for 11th graders, you're going to start on page 67 of the manual. And for 9th graders, you're going to start on page 48, reading the instructions. It's going to have all the pre-admin information in there. For 10th and 11th graders, you absolutely must bubble no matter what, items 1 through 8. Item 14, which is going to be that UIC code. It says student number, but it's not their student ID. It's actually the UIC code number. You're going to bubble in letters A through E on the back of the answer sheet, and then the certification statement.
And similarly for 9th grade, they must bubble in 1 through 14. 15 through 19 is optional, and if you want to take the extra time and have them go through that, go ahead. They will have a little sheet that kind of walks them through how to fill those out. One of them is GPA, which always trips up our freshmen because they don't have a GPA yet. But they can just kind of guesstimate. But again, if you choose to just do 1 through 14 and skip 15 through 19, that's fine. We really want our freshman students to do number 20. That is filling out their email address. This will be the first time for most of our students that they're connecting with College Board. So when they have that email address, that's helping them create their College Board account. So we'll want them to do 1 through 14 and 20 for sure. And then as with the other test, A through E, and then that certification statement. During the testing, while the kids are going, you can work on completing the seating chart and the timing chart. If you do have kids that don't show up, just go ahead and place any extra unused materials back in the bin. Once testing is done, you'll collect all of the materials from the students. We're going to ask that you collect them, that you verify them, and that you organize them before you release your students. You can release your students starting at 11:15, but no earlier. So again, with those freshmen, a lot of them are going to be done at 10:45. They're just going to need to sit quietly in the room. We can't have them out wandering the halls or doing those other things, so they can just sit quietly. Once 11:15 has come, you can take the materials and bring them down to us in the senior area. At that same time, you can go ahead and have the students leave. You don't need to bring the materials to us and then go back and release them. Go ahead and release them when they're done testing, but no earlier than 11:15. Remind them to remain quiet in the hallways and to leave the building promptly. And then you can bring your materials to Sarah or I in the senior area.
Just a quick little note for the PSAT and MSQT. So for 10th and 11th graders, you probably will be testing up until about 11:15. So when you're done with that test, as long as it's 11:15 or later, you can do the same thing. You can release the students and bring the bin down to us in the senior area. But our testing is a little bit longer, so you probably take most of that time.
And the reason we're not releasing by room like we did for SAT is exactly like Sarah said earlier. There's too many of you and buses are coming at 11:30. So if we tried to release staggered by room, kids would end up missing the bus. And we feel pretty confident that with tests kind of having different start and end times, we won't end up with all 1,000 kids in the hallway at the same time.
I just want to add really quick too, one more thing before we get back to Mr. Swan or to Luke, sorry. That breaks are the same as they were for SAT. They are going to be in the room. So if students need to leave, they can leave one by one, or maybe, you know, 2 at a time to go to the bathroom, but we're not releasing them into the hallways. We're just asking that they take the break in the room.
Guys, we appreciate all your efforts on this. I appreciate our 2 counselors here who have done a phenomenal job with this. You know, we tried to delay as long as possible. You know, just trying to figure out how many students were coming to try and keep the building as safe as possible. So please understand, we'll get you your proctor room assignment as quickly as possible. You will see the testing packet in your mailbox, and this, along with the PowerPoint there, will be going out in an email. So let us know if you have questions. We'll talk a little bit about the staff meeting as well. But please keep doing the great work you do with kids, and let us know if you need anything.